Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. For instance, on the planet Earth, man had always assumed that he was far more intelligent than dolphins because he had achieved so much. The wheel, New York, wars and so on. Whilst all the dolphins had ever done was mark about in the water, having a good time. But conversely, the dolphins had always believed that they were far more intelligent than man, for precisely the same reasons. Hey, this is Ali Roozkhash and welcome to the AR Podcast.
This is the AR Podcast.
AR Podcast.
What is space? Do we know it all? Well, that's impossible to answer because the universe is expanding by the second and our understanding of it also expanding. It's crazy to think about how small we are in this amazing world we have passing us by. In the first episode of the documentary Cosmos, Neil deGrasse Tyson presents us with mind-boggling information on where we are and our existence in the universe. He says, many of us suspect that all of this, all the worlds, stars, galaxies, and clusters in our observable universe is but one tiny bubble in an infinite ocean of other universes, a multiverse. Yes, our understanding of the universe is only expanding by the second, and the only thing we can do is lay down, look up, and try to figure out what's happening in the night sky. Babak Tafreshi is an explorer of the night sky, and one of the most interesting people I've had the pleasure of conversing with. The thing is, we go a little bit back to the time that I think I was like 13, 14 years old maybe, that I would attend your classes. And you would teach us the basics of astronomy and the sky and the night sky. And your classes were really, really amazing just to be a part of. And it was crazy to know because after we finished our classes and I started to grow up a little bit, I understood that what a gem you are. And it was, but the thought of meeting you was always far-fetched, and you were always in so many different places. And I couldn't really track you down. I didn't know where you were, right? It's an honor to sit in front of you today and to talk to you, basically. Can I go back to those classes just a little bit? I just want to say something, that you took us outside of Tehran for an exam. And it was a test because you wanted to know, how everybody was doing. So the trip was outstanding. It was so fascinating to sit down and stargaze with you, and you would talk about the stars and everything. And then you would point out, you would take out this pointer. There was a laser pointer. I think it was would travel tens and 100 millimeters or something. I have no idea. And you would point to a star and you would say, "What's the name of this star?" You had some questions like that. And that was really, really hard to to answer, but it was pretty fascinating. I always go back to that.
So I started teaching when I was 18, in fact. So I was pretty young when I started teaching in a northern Tehran observatory called Zafarani. And that's where you were practicing, yeah. And that observatory still exists. In fact, in a few days, we're going to gather together with the old students, and I hope you come as well.
That's amazing. I would definitely.
So I continued teaching to the day I left Iran, which was in 2011. During that time, I had probably a few thousand students, both at the observatory, the Nujum magazine, and then Night Sky Institute, where we are sitting now. Teaching was fun because it was part of sharing the passion to the night sky, sharing the knowledge of astronomy. But more than that, it was amazing to see a change in somebody's lifestyle, a change in somebody's mentality to the universe, to their living habits. And that happened to me. When I was 13, I borrowed a telescope from a neighbor. And that little telescope changed my life with the first look to the moon. So I strongly believe that such a simple experience can change somebody's life forever.
I understand. Can you tell us a little bit more about the experience that you just said? Because that was one of my questions. That you borrowed a telescope from your neighbor and then your life changed.
So telescope was not that frequently available in Tehran, in Iran at the time, because there was no company to import or produce them. So lack of equipment made you even more thirsty to to look to the night sky. And as soon as I realized my neighbor, a boy at the same age of 13, had a telescope, I borrowed that. And looking at the moon was a plan because I had a book gifted during my birthday, and there were a couple of detailed map of the moon. I wondered what kind of telescope is necessary to see these details. In my mind, it was the most giant, the largest telescopes in the world. But then this little 2-inch telescope, which is like 70 millimeter in aperture, revealed even more than that map. And I was sitting behind the eyepiece as the Earth was rotating, the moon was just gliding across the view, and it was almost felt like being in Apollo spacecraft looking out of the window, just orbiting the moon before landing. So that experience I can still remember second by second.
The way you describe it, it just makes me want to borrow a telescope and kind of like, look at this.
And that's something you can do in any major city. So that's why, I believe the night sky is a free laboratory to all nations, and it's available to everybody. Despite the light pollution, you can still see some of the brighter objects, even in cities. And that passion built in me many other interests. For example, photography of the night sky, which is my career at the moment for the National Geographic, and mixing that with cultural and natural landscapes, symbols of civilizations, and bringing a new message to people. So all of these started with that night in the middle of Tehran on the roof of our apartment looking at the moon.
Okay. And that began your fascination about the night sky, right?
Yes.
What if every time you look at the night sky, do you see something new?
In fact, I've been questions about this very frequently on social media, that you're doing this for more than 25 years and it looks like a single theater up there. But it's not. In fact, it's not a single movie. Night sky is very dynamic if you spend enough time, if you know what you're looking at. So those of us who are kind of frequently observing stargazers look for these dynamic events. So the celestial phenomena beyond the fixed constellations and the Milky Way, which is still, most magnificent you can imagine when you are outside of the cities, away from light pollution. But the celestial phenomena includes a new comet. A great comet in the sky can be really spectacular, and could be meteor showers, solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, conjunctions of moon and planets. Could be a satellite passing by, flaring in the sky. Could be atmospheric phenomena, which is very surprising and most often completely unexpected. Could be aurora borealis or australis in the south. Could be just simply air glow, natural emission of the Earth's atmosphere. In fact, this is one of the chapters of my new book, The World at Night, which was recently released, and a full chapter is just showcasing the rare phenomena that can change somebody's life, or can make a lifetime experience for people. And I would, top that with comet and solar eclipses.
I see. Okay. Is that book available in Iran? People can
I
buy?
brought a number of, some of the copies I brought myself. I have not found a way to import it to Iran at the moment, to transport and import it officially. None of the posts are working at the moment with Iran in this regard. So I have asked the publisher, which is based in the UK, to find a way in future. But I brought about 20 of them, mostly for friends and relatives, and they're all gone. But there is one of them I bring for you to have a look. It's right here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that book is a group work of the World at Night photographers. We are a group of 40 photographers in 20 countries. I started this project in 2007, It's called The World at Night, or TWAN, TWAN, and it just gradually grew over the time. And currently we are focused on publications such as this book. We had another book 10 years ago, but it was never in English. So this is the first time we are reaching international market with an English book, which is going to be in many other languages too, currently in 4 languages. The book has different chapters based on the messages of the nonprofit The World at Night program. And one of them is One People, One Sky. This is an idea that formed in Iran when I was taking photos of the night sky together with my colleague Oshin Zakarian, who is also a member of the World at Night program. And we realized the night sky has a universal message. It's a unifying power that brings all the nations under one single roof. And under this roof, we can feel that we are just one people, we're one family of humanity. So that's why we are continuing with the slogan of One People, One Sky, which is shared with the World at Night parent organization, Astronomers Without Borders. Mm-hmm. Another chapter is focused on astronomy side of these images. What is visible in the sky? What is the name of that star? And how far in future, for example, Betelgeuse will shine before becoming a supernova. So a lot of information that is hidden in the images. Because when people look at these nightscape photos, some may realize the art power of it. Some may realize technical aspect of that. And some look for the science behind the image. So it's a merge of art and science in our photography. Another chapter is concentrated on light pollution. It's called The Fragile Beauty of Darkness. And it's a very timely topic to talk about, especially in developing countries where people are using more and more intense light, and LEDs in white and blue part of the spectrum is considered to be harmful to human body, changing our sleep cycle, and considered to be extremely effective to insects and birds and many other nocturnal species. So this is a new knowledge, but quite established, and we can rely on that light pollution is changing our planet in a major way that people were completely unaware of. So this was one of the main parts of the book. I'm really happy to include it in the book. And the last part is about the last remaining dark sky reserves on the planet, which includes dark sky parks and any other designated location for stargazing by International Dark Sky Association.
I see. Okay. Thank you so much for the explanation. I wrote down something, and I want to read it out for you and the people who are listening. Do you know where this is from? Of course you do. I'm just reading this. His work reclaimed a night sky that most modern people have lost. Do you know where this is from?
Oh, yes. This is from 2009, when I won the Leonard Nilsson Award, and I'm really honored to receive that. Unfortunately, Leonard Nilsson passed away a couple of years ago, but he has been an inspiration for me and many other science photographers. Some of us are mainly doing research, but some like me are in the middle of art and science, in the middle of public and general community and science, a bridge between science and public. But regardless of that, we all share the same approach that we like to bring science to people. And that year in 2009, Leonard Nilsson Award Committee wrote that piece when they were giving me this award in Stockholm. I shared that award with another science photographer, Dr. Carolyn Porco, who was at the time this science imaging director of the Cassini spacecraft, which is a NASA spacecraft orbiting the sun, which was, it worked for a very long time and brought out a new knowledge to our understanding of the solar system. So I'm really happy to share that award in our resume with Carolyn Pork, and we are still in touch. So Leonard Nixon Award at the time was the world's most important program to celebrate science photography, and it still continues every 1 or 2 years. Yeah.
When you're looking down on this and you see all those names, and then all of a sudden it's your name appearing.
Yeah, I was really happy to receive it, especially at the time I was still based in Iran. So I was not only an Iranian receiving it, but a resident of Iran too, with all the limitations and sanctions. So breaking all these borders and receiving an international award like that was really a milestone for me. The same as you felt. Going through the list, I saw Franz Lanting, photographers of National Geographic, known for wildlife photography worldwide, or David Malin, who has been an inspiration and also a member of the World at Night program since the beginning, but he's known as the most accomplished astrophotographer ever. Based in Australia, is now over 70 years, but working with giant telescopes in the past and now consulting to us in how to approach public in the World at Night program.
I see. You've been to 7 different continents. I was reading one of your interviews, and they asked you a question, and I'm going to repeat that question because it was really fascinating for me. They asked you, since you've been to 7 continents, and it's not the kind of experience that a lot of people have on the planet. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the difficulties that you faced going into different continents? Because I believe that you would definitely go to a place which is completely out of the city, because the light pollution and everything surrounding it, and then you have to set up, and then all of a sudden you're inside this wilderness and you're basically exposed to anything.
There was a program to document solar eclipses between 1999 to 2009, 10 years, a collaboration with my colleague Siavach Safarian, and he has been my very good friend since teenagehood. So I started chasing solar eclipses in 95 in Iran, and then another one came to the country in 99. So I was really inspired by solar eclipses, working at No Geo magazine at the time. Continued to the next one in Africa in 2001, and that was the first real adventure of my life in 2001 to Zambia. I've been traveling in Iran as a teenager every week, to some place, backpacking and taking photographs from remote villages like Alamut and any other places in the Alborz Mountains. And then as I grew up, over 18 and 19, I started to travel all around the country, because the passion to the night sky is combined with your interest to the nature. You need to go away from the cities. And as you travel around, you realize the importance of experience of trip itself. So it's not only stargazing, it's a new experience. You enjoy it, and then you're thirsty for the next one. So in 2001, I joined 2 of my friends, Gernot and Pascal from Germany, who were traveling with their own car, a big Unimog, all the way from Germany to Zambia in over 6 months, documenting cultures on the way to solar eclipse. That was another mix of art and culture, science and culture. And I managed to get to them just in time before the eclipse in Zambia. But then I realized I'm in the middle of a real adventure, because these friends of mine are true adventurers, and you don't find many of them nowadays, because most people are influencers, and they have the appearance of explorer, but there are not many places to explore in hottest spots of tourism. But these people are true adventurers, and it was a shock to me. At the same time, it was I learned a lot in Zambia in 2001. We were chased by elephants, we were chased by lions, and we met really remote villages where people never seen a white skin. So that was really a shock to me, to see that there are such locations still available, is still existing on our planet. And then in 2003, a new continent was destination, Antarctica. So Antarctica was never a plan for me, because it was impossible to reach it from the budget of a young person in Iran. it looked impossible until a person here in Tehran, Hamid Khodashanas, expressed interest to do this trip and asked me to join as the manager of the trip, the science manager of the trip. So we did it together on board a Russian icebreaker, Dr. Captain Khlebnikov, on 1 month trip to Antarctica to see a solar eclipse, a total one. The first time human beings were experiencing a total solar eclipse in Antarctica. And I'm happy to mention that in 2 years I will back to Antarctica on another eclipse. Every 18 years, solar eclipses are returning in something called the Saros cycle. And this Saros cycle bringing back the same eclipse to Antarctica in December 2021. And I'm invited to be a lecturer on board Quark expedition to Antarctica for the total solar eclipse. And I really look forward to return to Antarctica. Other continents came also along with solar eclipse chasing. For example, we went to Central and South America chasing a very unique hybrid eclipse, which is a mix of annular and total eclipse in 2006. And that trip took us to somewhere in the northern limit of Amazon. Very dense forest in Venezuela, and where the Angel Falls is located, the world's tallest waterfall. And it was another major adventure. Traveling in Venezuela is an adventure, anytime, anywhere. And it's a country like no other. It's so many attractions, natural attractions, and unique culture. But it's not that safe to travel around. We went then to Panama, or we visited some of the local tribes which immigrated some decades ago from Venezuela and Colombia to this dense tropical forest, a rainforest in Panama, and they were practicing as though their Native American culture, almost naked around. So it was fun to visit that, but it was also very challenging to document this for Iranian TV.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, I understand the limitations. So there must have been an experience that you must have had in one of the trips that you just waited, you just sat down, you said, okay, fine, this is the reason I'm doing this. Like, this is exactly what I always wanted to see, and this is exactly what I always wanted to experience. It couldn't get any better than this. I want to know what that experience was. If
It's
there
very
was one.
simple. Yeah, it was one, and it repeated many times. And still, each time it repeats, I still feel the same amount of excitement. It's very unique. Nowadays, more than 2/3 of human population can no longer see natural night sky due to light pollution. Most of us are living near or inside cities, or near industrial areas, or near streetlights. And that has caused something called sky glow. So sky glow is vanishing the natural night sky. Simply, you cannot see the Milky Way. You cannot see many stars as you see in a desert or a mountain far from city lights. Light pollution has caused this lack of natural night sky experience, and people are seeking that. People are looking for places to experience that. And the reason is, when you're outside under natural night sky, you not only feel connected to night sky above you, you feel uniquely connected to the earth, to the motherland, to the nature around you. You go to places when nobody is there. You go to a national park, this place is filled with people in daytime. But at night, everybody has left that. You're alone under the night sky with nocturnal species making these sounds. Nobody here. You feel such an amazing connection to the universe that every second of it, I think it's an experience of lifetime. You look at this misty glow of light on the horizon rising above you. In half an hour, you realize this is the Milky Way galaxy rising, and you feel you're on a single little planet going through this ocean of stars over cosmic timescale. But beyond that, it places you in a right scale. It gives you a scale that how small we are, but how important our civilization is, because we are understanding the entire universe. We're trying to understand that. But at the same time, from the size scale, how small we are, and how unnotable we could be. It has a contrast. On one side, you feel that you're so important that you can reveal the whole universe, you can understand the cosmic scale, and on the other side, you feel that you're just one grain of sand between millions of other stars and planets. We have more than 100 billion stars just in the Milky Way galaxy, and about half of them have probably solar systems, have their own systems, planets. So we have more planets than stars in the galaxy. And just the probability of having another life somewhere in the galaxy is quite high. Of course, we don't know if they are advanced or not. Most common life would be basic bacteria. But still, just thinking about that. Many of us are living in cities, and in the city you are completely occupied by the city lifestyle. You don't see much of the night sky or daytime nature anyhow. It's completely covered by buildings and cars and industries. So you don't have moments to think about all of these. And being under natural night sky, you gain that moment. You feel connection, and you will continue with that experience in your life. I strongly believe such moments change people's mind, and you will feel that in your reaction to social, financial difficulties.
So you do believe that we have life outside of our planet, and there will be time that we find it.
It's definitely not a belief, because it's science.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you have to get evidence.
Yes.
But I think it's highly probable that we have life outside of Earth, and it may be even in our own solar system, underneath the Martian soil. We have not explored that enough. Mars looks completely arid, but what about 10, 20 meters under the ground? What about in the sinkholes, where life could be protected from the cosmic rays, and there is still some water ice, and time to time they will be melted by underground activity or volcanic activity in Mars. So what about Europa? Europa is a satellite of Jupiter, and it's completely covered by ice, but under that ice is water, an ocean of water, and we are pretty sure about that. And having an ocean water warmed up by a central activity in the satellite, it gives you very high possibility of some kind of basic life. But the story of advanced intelligent life is totally different, because intelligent life does not form easily.
Can I ask you a question? I don't know if this is relevant or not, but you did mention something about the bacteria, and like sort of a bacteria that could be living outside of the planet Earth. And the theory of evolution would say, if we have something that is growing, for example, it's at the very beginning of its cycle. In some few, maybe 1,000 years' time, we will definitely see an evolution happening from that. So we will definitely see other species.
Yeah, when you have form of life, it will have an evolution. Yes, that's a fact.
Okay.
But how far it goes, it depends how stable is the environment it has. If you're in a very stable condition, favorable condition for evolution, then it may reach advanced and intelligent, yes. But most often in cosmic environment, you don't have stability. For example, given our own solar system, we always have impacts of asteroids and comets, and that can kill one species, let the ground open for another one. But it doesn't let you to become intelligent, because each time it will make a major change to the life cycle. But we were lucky about that. One of the major impacts of asteroids to planet Earth probably was responsible for the extinction of dinosaurs, which allowed us to evolutionize.
Are you a fan of movies?
Yes.
In terms of astronomy and how vast it is, basically, do you watch movies and say, "This is not possible," and this is just this is just drama for people who don't really understand astronomy? I do believe that's an actual real case, because you would show these movies inside this place, and then like the audience would have to sit down and watch the movie, and then you would analyze the movie and would tell us how probable it is for this to happen or not. So I would ask you, what is your favorite movie?
Well, yeah, that program was called the Space Cinema. We had a weekly um, presentation of a film, and the movie was a science fiction or kind of sometimes documentary on the space activities, and then we had somebody guest to talk about the science part of it, a guest to talk about the cinematographic aspect of the movie. It was really great. It's something that you don't find it in many countries. In fact, to have space fans come together to watch this and discuss this. My favorite so far has been still, the Odyssey 2001, and this has been a favorite to many other space fans because it has a lot of facts, science facts. So you don't find many Hollywood aspects in it. You don't find mainly graphics and action. It has a lot of philosophy that not only back in the 1960s, but even now people can communicate with it. It is still ahead of its time. Although in some part of it, it's predicting 2001 to be a very bizarre age of new lifestyle in space. But this didn't happen. We are in 2019, 2020 at the moment. We are in 2020, and still we have not reached the lifestyle of Odyssey 2001. But some of these aspects have happened, and it's quite fascinating to watch that. After that, some other great movies came, like Contact, another really interesting philosophy, the way that we can communicate, not physically, but through just waves and signals. And the other one was recent, Interstellar.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Okay, are there any facts in the things that you're talking
Yes,
about?
Interstellar, Contact, and Odyssey were all good in science facts. Of course, they had something beyond that too, but it's within the science fiction accepted ideas. That's important. But when you look at a film like Gravity, it's just filled with action without really almost zero base in science. So, and then there are some films which are based on true stories, like Apollo 13. And this film,
one of those movies that you showed in those
exactly, and I still remember how much people reacted positively to this film, especially when the Apollo spacecraft and this giant Saturn rocket is lifting off from the planet. I was just looking at people, how much they were excited to see this on the big screen. And it's very well made, and of course, very well performed by Tom Hanks.
Okay, what's next for Babak Tafreshi? You're full of surprises.
So, I'm currently more and more involved with National Geographic for stories, and I'm really focused on light pollution because I strongly believe that light pollution should be documented more, should be communicated with people more. Most people have not even heard of this term. When you talk about light pollution, they have a little bit of a smile because they think you're joking. But this is a real thing. And although we are very much concerned about plastic pollution, we are concerned about climate change and air pollution and so on. But light pollution has been actively growing behind our eyesight because most people didn't realize that this is a thing. Of course, most people realize they no longer see the night sky as they were experienced that in their childhood, but that's not the major issue. Light pollution is not only concerning astronomers. It's the smallest part of it, in fact. It's very important, of course. We are not able to explore the night sky and make that connection as our ancestors are doing. But beyond that, it's affecting directly wildlife and people quality of life, because the white blue LEDs, when we are exposed to that nighttime near our sleep time, we cannot go easily to deep sleep because of that intense white blue light. Our brain detect that white blue as a sign of blue sky and white clouds. So that means daytime. It decreases the amount of melatonin in the body and activates our body. So therefore, the deep sleep comes very late or never. I'm talking about the REM phase, the rapid eye movement, which is very important for recharging the body and memory recording. And when you have this issue in long term, people doing shift work, for example, or people who have a white blue street light coming from their bedroom window inside. So each night you're exposed to that. And over long term, you have major physical issues. And even 2 kinds of cancer is related to these kinds of artificial lights. Not as the main contributor, as one of them, breast cancer and prostate cancer. And this is not something a photographer like me is just guessing. It's an established science. 3 years ago, American Medical Association officially announced that white blue LEDs, form of light pollution, is harmful to human body. And nowadays it's illegal in some of the cities in the US to use lights above 3000 Kelvin in the streets. The Kelvin light, the Kelvin scale, gives us the color, the temperature of the light. If it's 4,000, 5,000, it's very white blue. 5,000 has a lot of blue. Then 3,000 is somewhere in the middle. It's the edge of safety, according to AMA. And under that, 2,700, 2,200, it's very comfortable for our eyes and for our long-term experience through our ancestors and back in the history of human being, because it has the temperature. 1800 has the color temperature of wood fire.
I see.
So I highly recommend people to use warmer LEDs in their house, such as amber LEDs and any yellow one, 3000 and less. The white blues are very useful in hospitals, in surgery rooms, in a dentist office. So they have their own use, but not in your bedroom, not in the bathroom. You don't want an intense bright white light in the bathroom when you're waking up in the middle of the night. You go there and you cannot go to sleep that easily. That varies person by person, but average, it's affecting everyone. And you don't want that white blue light in your street lights, because it's creating psychological reactions, kind of intense feeling, and it's creating more glare to the eyes, especially for elderly people or those who have made LASIK surgeries. So it has major issues. It makes also very dark shadows. The white blue light you use in your headlight, for example, the new xenon light or LED light in the car headlights, they're very intense, so you see everything illuminated perfectly, but the shadows becomes pitch black. Wow. And that's against the safety, in fact. So this is what I'm concentrated on in my photography, to document the beauty of the night sky and the contrast of the light pollution, and then using the power of art in these images, communicate the message of dark skies importance and light pollution issues. Well, we did a number of documentaries in the past, but not at this current moment. It's the major one was for ZDF, German TV, and Arte in 2017. Still, the cinematographic release is going around in different festivals. It was called Borderless Sky. It was a 5-episode TV program where followed 5 TWAN photographers in each continent. Mine was in Chile, and it was about the dark sky importance and light pollution, in fact, and also the messages of TWAN. So that was our most recent documentary.
Okay, that's just fascinating to sit down and talk to you. You are, if there is a time machine, I'm pretty sure I'm going to need that. And, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to my house, I'm editing this, and I'm thinking to myself, why didn't I ask that question? Or why did I even ask that question? So, yes, if there was just another time, maybe in another planet that we could meet. I would love to sit down and talk
Yeah, I
to you.
look forward to that.
Yeah.
In my next trip here, or if you travel over there, or we can catch up somewhere in another country on the planet. So yeah, I highly recommend people who are listening this to have a look at our most recent article about light pollution, National Geographic website. Just easily Google Nat Geo light pollution and you will find that. Or you can follow me on social media, especially Instagram. Many of my posts are related to dark sky importance and the issue of light pollution globally. I'm available there at sign Babak Tafreshi.
Thank you so much. It's and it was an honor to sit down and talk to you. It's still just something that I'm thinking of. I'm dreaming right now to be sitting in front of you and talking to you. So thank you so much for the
Thank
time.
you.
It was a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you. One of the reasons I became interested in astronomy was Mr. Tafreshi, and to sit down in the same room and talk about the subject we both love was an experience I will never forget. Eid is coming, and you might want to order some amazing cookies and cakes, right? If so, Ordibesh Pastry is the way to go. Try their deliciousness. You won't regret it. You can find them on Instagram at Ordibesh Pastry. This has been Ali Roozkhash, the host of the AR Podcast.
This was the AR Podcast.
AR Podcast.